your smarts and my...
He told me enough.
No, I...
Here's Chuck.
Actually, no, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna destroy this, because to be honest, there is one good thing about owning this shitty film. It at least comes with this better. It at least comes with this better film. It at least came with the better movie, the better version. So I'm not gonna destroy it. It gets a pass. So this DVD copy can be saved from being destroyed because it has the actually good movie with it. The only way I can pretty much own that film. But anyway, but that doesn't mean I'm going to give this remake a pass for being a shitty insult. Alright? Because this movie totally is one. But anyway, I'm here with a brand new epic rant. And this epic rant is going to be for, obviously, you already saw it, I don't need to say it. It's going to be the 2008 remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still. And yeah, what's the plot of this movie? Well, the plot of this movie is Dr. Helen Benson, like the original, is summoned to a military facility with several other scientists when an alien spacecraft of sorts arrives in New York City. And aboard is this human-like alien and a giant robot of immense size and power. The alien identifies itself as Klaatu and says he's come to save the Earth. And the U.S. military and political authorities see him as a threat, however, and they decide to use so-called intensive interrogation techniques on him. But Benson decides to facilitate his escape. When she learns exactly what he means when he says he is there to save the Earth, right, she tries to convince him to change his intentions. So how was this even made? Well, we all remember 1994 when Fox and Stoff had produced Speed with Keanu Reeves. Stoff was at an office at the studio and he saw a poster for the 1951 film. And made him and guess what, guys? That made him ponder to do a remake of the film starring Reeves. Then by the time Scarpa was writing a draft of the script in 2005, 10 years later, or 11 years later, Thomas Rothman would be in charge of Fox around that time and felt a responsibility to remake the film. And Scarpa felt everything about the original film was relevant, and changed the allegory from nuclear war to environmental damage because the specifics of how we now have the capability to destroy ourselves changed. And he noted the events of a hurricane in 2005 called Hurricane Katrina, and informed his mindset when writing the screenplay. So he scrapped Klaatu's speech at the conclusion of the story because, apparently according to this idiot, the audiences in this world were unwilling to tolerate that. People didn't want to be preached to me about the environment. They wanted to avoid having our alien look out over the garbage in the lake and crying a silent tear for the night from a film like Keep America Beautiful. So, this guy would be a fucking idiot and ruined one of the best speeches of cinema. Because this guy's a jackass. Clearly. So after that, so anyway, they filmed the movie. And originally they were going to release it in May 9, 2008. But it got released on a rollout schedule that got bumped all the way to the end of the year of December 12, 2008. And it screened in both real and IMAX theaters. And guess what, guys? When this movie released, critics fucking hated it. Audiences clearly fucking hated it. It didn't even make much impact at the box office. Domestically, it only made like $79 million. But it made $233 million worldwide. Now as for my reaction, well, what can I say? I adore the original 1951 film. It's easily one of the best sci-fi films ever made in my eyes, with great characters, a great lead protagonist, great effects for 50s standards. And it's the one thing that comes out of owning this shitty remake, is owning that film at least. Because what can I say about this remake? This remake is a shitty dumpster fire, and it deserves to rot in hell. I will say that. If people want to say Keanu's performance in Bram Stoker's Dracula was bad, Watch this. Bash his performance in Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula movie all you want. This was much worse. I kid you not, and I hate to say that because Keanu Reeves is one of my favorite actors, but this easily would have to be his worst performance yet. Like, he was honestly very miscasted because how is this movie, like, unlike the great 1951 original, this was just another preachy film about how humans are messing up the planet. And it's strange how this theme actually slips into a film when you're being told about climate change and such all being our fault. Yeah, it's the fault of big business. It's condoned as important to government for what we are supposed to do. I clearly could not give less of a shit. They tried to, this was like, does this have to be every movie now? Can't we just have normal entertainment, not some preachy documentary about how the earth is dying? They tried to even update this for the 21st century. And guess what? We had some nice start quite well. There's some nice idea about the nature of aliens, but if halfway through, this movie just goes down the drain. What was wrong with it? Well, here's the biggest problem I had. Like, apparently these aliens in the movie were watching us for a long time. We're watching Earth in this movie for a long time. So at least 70 years, if the old guy was a sleeper agent is to be believed, how would they not know us very well then? And why did Klaatu let himself be convinced of our worth for some tears and hugs between Jennifer Connelly and an annoying little shit I'll get to in a little bit? And some music by Batch, just pathetic. Pathetic reasons. And the aliens' is answer to a problem. We have to all commit genocide because of what's happening. Very advanced, very well done. And that's definitely got to go to that level of advancement. Just running around, literally just most of the movie, running around the forest, no way to bring the film to a great ending, and as soon as you watch this movie, I was already wishing for the ending of this movie to come quickly, and frankly, it got so bad, like, this is one of those films where you could care less what happens. If you suppose I bet that was probably the reaction to many who did see this in the theaters. I did not see this in the theaters, but I can imagine this probably would have been anybody's reaction. Cause like, and I wouldn't be surprised if people forgot about this movie, because guess what? As soon as this movie left theaters, nobody remembered its ass. No one did. Nobody remembered this movie's ass anymore when it left. It was just there and it was gone. Never to be remembered again. How does this movie even start? Well, we start off in the year 1928, and it's during an expedition in the snowy mountains of India. And we get a cameo from Keanu Reeves as a mountaineer. He encounters a glowing spear of ice, and after he breaks away a chunk of ice with his pickaxe, he's blinded by fears of ferocious light and finds himself waking after a sudden loss of consciousness, with the spear now gone and a scar on his hand. And then we get to the real present day we're supposed to be set. And we cut to apparently our real lead protagonist named Helen Benson, who leaves work from her university to go home to make dinner for her irritating as fuck stepson. I'll still get to him later. But then she receives an odd, and like, there's chemistry in this movie sucks. I kid you not. As soon as, like, most of the movie, they just argue. Her stepson is being an asshole. Literally, just half the movie, he's a complete asshole to Connelly. The whole movie, for zero reason. And his reasons to be an asshole are pathetic. And then, Connelly receives an odd phone call that they are on their way to pick her up. And then she asks who they are. And it's the United States government pulling up in front of her house. And they tell her she's under federal protection and must leave with them immediately. So they arrive at Linwood to New Jersey, and she's assembled with others in a conference room and is shown that a large unknown object with a speed of approximately 1/10 the speed of light is due to impact Manhattan in 78 minutes, and she's put in a helicopter with a group of other scientists to formulate a survival plan. And as they brace themselves for impact, all is quiet, and it has slowed down and it's not going to crash apparently, and Benson turns around to look at the window of the helicopter. You see his large bright spear approach the ground. Yeah. That's how our movie pretty much starts off. And you know exactly that this is probably not going to be a great film at all. And it's not helped by the poor casting of this film. Guys, here's our very first big bad with the casting. And I think you can know who I'm talking about now. It's easily the actor who plays the stepson. What doesn't help with the stepson being an annoying little shit, he's played by none other than Jaden Smith. And it's not obvious, and ain't it obvious that every film Jaden Smith is in, he's a snotty little shit in all the movies he plays in? Like, seriously, I hated this character so fucking much that throughout the whole film, I hate to say this, and I sound harsh for saying this, I wanted this character to die. I kid you not. As much as I hate children dying in movies, this is one rare exception where I actually wanted this character to die. Because I hated him so damn much. Or just get a good slap. And that fact alone just is exactly why I can barely get into enjoyment of this film. Now, as much as I still like Will Smith, as much as I still like his dad, Will Smith, who still needs to leave Jada, will admit that, he really needs to cut ties with Jada. Will should have understood back then that just because he got his son casted in Pursuit of Happiness, that does not mean Jaden was ready to be in movies just because of that one time. One time work does not suddenly mean your kid is ready to be in films. Right? Will really should have understood that. But there's probably another reason why he got casted. It probably wasn't his dad. It was probably someone else. But, like, because the rest of the movies Jaden is in, he cannot act for shit. I'm not a fan of the Karate Kid remake from 2010, or as they call that, the Kung Fu Kid, which should be called because it's more of a Kung Fu movie, not a Karate Kid movie, and doesn't even have a connection to the Karate Kid at all. After Earth, the M. Night Shyamalan film he did with also starred his dad was also shitty. And now he's a rapper, and even his music is awful to listen to. Your son does not belong in fame. Your son did not belong in Hollywood to begin with. But I can bet you, the one reason that Jaden Smith was written in this movie was because Keanu Reeves didn't work with Will Smith. But there's a time when Keanu did those Matrix sequels before this. Will's asshole bitchy wife, Jada Pinkett, starred with Keanu Reeves in the Matrix sequels that had come out a few years before this movie. And apparently Jaden Smith met him on the set of those when he was only 3 years old. And I can bet you that one memory from filming those sequels is probably how Jada decided to probably secretly get in touch. They probably convinced Jada to secretly get in touch with Fox and get in touch with Scott Derrickson and convince them to have her son be in the film was for that one reason alone. It's just because she worked with Keanu on the Matrix sequels and her son met him on the set and wanted her son to work with him. That's probably the only reason why Jaden was even in the film in the first place, was because of Jada Pinkett. Clearly. I can bet you that's probably why. When our other cast members, for our actual lead protagonist, Jennifer Connelly plays Helen Benson, who's the scientist that gets called by the government to detect an object on collision course with Manhattan, and they expect to destroy all life, only for it to slow down and land in New York's Central Park. She's apparently considered by her stepson to be the wicked stepmom, even though she doesn't even act like one, and it's her stepson that's actually the real asshole. But honestly, like, she doesn't even give a good performance in here either. She just does not sound interested. She just sounds bored. And especially, like, seriously, like, this was a girl that was in films like Requiem for a Dream and Labyrinth. And now, like, thankfully, like, she's gotten better roles again with Top Gun Maverick and Alita Battle Angel. But she also gives a bad performance here because she just sounds like she just doesn't even care. And yeah, I hate saying things like this as well. But this other casting, I'm sorry to say this, but our casting, Keanu Reeves, of course, plays the man whose DNA is sampled in 1928 in the mountains in India and gets used in the present day to create a body for Klaatu, which the alien represents a group of other worlds who have come to Earth to stop humans destroying the planet and eradicating all human life using spears as modern-day arts to save animal life. And Keanu, guys, I've already said it before and I'm going to say it again, and it sucks to say this, but he's miscasted as Klaatu. And it's his worst performance in my eyes. I'd rather watch his performance in Bram Stoker's Dracula over this. Like, this guy's supposed to be a hero, but he doesn't even sound like a hero who wants to save Earth. He sounds like some asshole who just wants to destroy it. Does not give a fuck about the human race. So he feels more like the villain than the hero. So yeah, and we're supposed to actually sympathize, or we're supposed to root for this guy when he doesn't even sound like he gives a fuck about Earth. So what's the point? So then we get back to the film, and that object that landed is a spaceship, and it lands gently in Central Park, and then Klaatu emerges from the spear, and then the military establishes the perimeter, and Dr. Benson's about to shake hands with the being, but the being is shot, and a gigantic robot emerges, and emits the sound that paralyzes humans and disrupts electrical systems in New York City, and before the robot can take the being back, it's ordered to shut down by the being. And the being is gathered up by the military, and it gets rushed to the military hospital where the doctors revive the dying being. And a surgeon is brought in to remove the bullet. And while attempting to remove the bullet, he notices that the being's outer layer is a jelly substance, much like the whale blubber, and it falls off on its own. And apparently the being's plasmata is much like a human baby, and it was born on Earth. Then in 1928, when it landed the first time, the patch of skin removed from the mountaineer's hand, and it's a DNA sample, so the being could replicate itself in a human form. And it gets put into an incubator while it grows, and time passes, and we see the full-grown human inside the incubator. And once it gets fully grown, in a wake, he begins to literally thrash around the incubator, and the first person there to speak to him is obviously Connolly. And while recovering, he gets interviewed by Kathy Bates' character, Regina Jackson, who's a United States Secretary of Defense. And then, of course, Michael Granier, who's John Hamm's character, and Connolly. He introduces himself as Klaatu and informs them that he's a representative of a group of aliens that got sent to talk to the world leaders. But Jackson laughs at this and tells him she's nearest he is going to get to the president and to just tell her what he wants. And he refuses, so she orders Klaatu instead to be sent to a secure location and drugged and interrogated. So Connolly volunteers to do the honors of drugging him, but instead ejects him with a solution of saline while whispering to him to run. And during the polygraph, Klaatu manages to take mind control of the interrogator and escapes, then makes it as far as the train station when his bullet wound opens and he needs Connolly's help again. So Connolly's back at home with Jacob, or Jaden Smith, when she gets a call from the train station that Klaatu's there, asking for her, and she rushes over with Jaden in the back seat. And after they leave the train station, they get pursued by authorities through Newmark, New Jersey, and the forested Highlands. Like, if you don't feel like you're already watching sections of another shitty film from 2008, The Happening, and an actually good film from 2008, Cloverfield, at certain points in the movie, then you pay absolutely no attention to movies when you watch them. The film is highly unoriginal, and not just because it's a remake, but because it steals ideas from things like The Happening and Cloverfield, and it takes far too long to get to the point where Gort starts even wiping the earth out. This new movie doesn't even have anything in common with the original, save for a few characters' names, and the general notion of an alien coming to Earth to make us do something that we're unwilling to do ourselves. And the film is so low-key, it's hard to believe that it was even written. Everyone just sleepwalks through their parts, and perhaps taking a cue from Reeves, it generates about as much excitement in the film as does this ingredient list on a box of creamed wheat, and virtually nothing happens in the movie. There's no tension, no dramatic unfolding of a plot. You could possibly care less about the idea of a sketchily drawn characters. And it's revealing that Gort, the now giant robot weapon system, has more personality than all the other characters in the film rolled together. And he doesn't speak, and even the numerous helicopters in the movie are CGI, and they still have more personality than Reeves did in the whole movie. Yeah, and pretty much while Reeves, Connolly, and Jaden are on the run, the presence of the spear causes a worldwide panic, and the United States military manages to capture the robot from the beginning, whose name is Gort, and it thwarts their attempts to destroy the spear using unnamed aerial vehicles that launch Hellfire missiles. So, then we get back to our trio, and guess where they have to stop to speak to a world leader? At a fucking McDonald's. Yeah. They literally stop at a fucking McDonald's. So Reeves can negotiate with a world leader. Yeah. Because this movie apparently needs to have product placement, let's go to a McDonald's to do this job. Instead of go somewhere private, they go to a public restaurant called McDonald's. Great idea. Let's bring a fugitive into McDonald's. Where your ass won't get arrested easily. So at the McDonald's, Reeves meets with a guy named Mr. Wu, and we learn that he's another alien who got assigned by the same group of alien civilizations to live with the humans for 70 years. And upon learning from him of humanity's destructive tendencies, Klaatu decides that humans shall be exterminated to ensure that the planet with its rare ability of sustained complex life can survive. And Mr. Wu decides to stay on Earth, having seen another side of humanity that he loves, but Klaatu doesn't want to see this love, so he orders smaller spheres previously hidden on Earth to begin taking animal species off the planet because he's a genocidal douchebag. Like, just compared to Noah's Ark and the flood that destroys the world. And that's ironic because Connolly also starred in that shitty Noah movie by Darren Aronofsky. Then we get back to the robot, and it's subjected to experiments in an underground facility in Virginia, and it transforms itself into a swarm of insect-like nanites that begin destroying everything in their path back to Manhattan and an armored battlation of the US Army. Like, remember in the original film when Klaatu, when he was played by Michael Rennie, walked out of his flying saucer spaceship and got shot in the shoulder? Then he got taken to a hospital, and once removed from his spacesuit, was entirely human. Here, Klaatu, in this version, the Keanu Reeves version, literally shows himself capable of reaching levels of animation of an animatronic figure at Disneyland's Hall of Presidents, emerged from his monster-sized medicine ball of a spaceship as a glowing light source, and he got shot and taken to the hospital, and he has to shed his outer layer of organic material before he resembles a human being, and the shedding is accompanied by all sorts of gooey scraps of rubber and the sound of a bowl of molasses being stirred with a wooden paddle. Like, in the original film, Michael Rennie's version of the character came to warn the Earth to shape up or they'd be shipped out. Here, Reeves just basically comes to destroy the Earth because they're already screwing it up. And it gives the producers of this grotesque piece of offering an excuse to show us magnificent scenes of destruction. The big stadium in the New Jersey Meadowlands collapses and so forth. Then Reeves relents and realizes humans deserve another chance. And there are more subtle moments of fright. And a couple of approaching lights in the night sky then produce ear-splitting roars of destructive winds that turn out to be helicopters, like CGI. And then, after the whole McDonald's scene pretty much, Benson then tries to convince Klaatu that the world is not bad and humans can change the Earth for the better. But he's not convinced at all because he's still an asshole. And so she takes him to the home of John Cleese's character, Professor Barnhart. And they discuss how Klaatu's own species went through a drastic evolution to survive its own star's demise. And Klaatu is then convinced by Helen and Jacob that humans can change their ways and are worth saving. But because we all know, throughout the movie, Jacob, still being an annoying little shit, keeps trying to convince Benson not to help Reeves' character, which I guess kind of makes sense because Reeves definitely doesn't sound like an ally in this movie. He sounds more like, his character sounds more like an asshole that actually looks ready to murder both of them. So, there's one part he's right about, but it doesn't stop him from still being an annoying little shit in my eyes. So, Jacob then calls an 800 hotline, and he reports where Klaatu is. But of course, because he's too fucking stupid, it gets Connolly's character captured instead. And he has to realize this mistake the hard way. And he has to be left alone with Klaatu, the character he has despised. So the two of them keep heading towards the spear. But then Regina Jackson then realizes that convincing the alien to change its mind would be the only way to ensure the survival of humanity. And so Helen is allowed to leave, and so she leaves with Michael Grenier, and they rendezvous with Jacob and Klaatu in a cemetery. So at the cemetery, we find out why Jacob was being so insufferable and annoying the entire movie. It's because his father is dead. So Jacob leads Klaatu to the place where his father's buried, and Jacob begs Klaatu to use his powers to bring his father back to life. But Klaatu is not able to do this. He consoles Jacob by explaining how no one ever truly dies, because the universe has a use for everything, and everything just got transformed to something else. Then Hal and Michael arrive, and Helen tells Jacob how much she missed his father, and they sure could cry, in a forced emotional scene nobody gives a fuck about. And this whole dumb scene right here, this finally convinces Klaatu to save humanity instead of destroy it. And he shows why Mr. Wu loved humans. The whole time. So it took a dumbass crying scene to finally convince Klaatu not to kill Earth. No. Fuck you. Fuck this movie. Fuck this remake. And fuck the forced emotions. It's like this scene right here tries to force us to sympathize with Jacob all because his dad died, but why the fuck should we? This guy's done nothing but be an annoying little asshole that treats his stepmom like shit, got her captured by the military, put her life in danger, and is constantly trying to get our lead captured as well, even though our lead is also a douchebag. Fuck that. I don't feel any sympathy. I'm not sad for shit. I could care less. If this was a likable character, maybe I would. But no. We have to do it. And this drama's already been done to fucking death. Like, to start with, changing humankind's risk to the universe from nuclear destruction to environmental destruction doesn't even make a lot of sense. Nor does the idea that the Earth is a valuable resource because it has multicellular organisms. They literally developed the idea that the alien spheres sample terrestrial life, but then Homo sapiens, which all our faults, are the most interesting species on this planet, But yeah, like, the idea of using a swarm of meta-eating nanobots to wipe out humanity makes even less sense, because the nanobots themselves, like whatever the fuck their use for power is, are just buyout on the environment that makes anything we do look relatively trivial. And when they could eat an anti-oil truck in seconds, why did it take them so long to make holes in a jacket? And then Klaatu stopping of electricity, like in 1951, was a warning, and a fine theatrical moment whose essence was that nothing moved. And at the same time, 2008, the switching lights off block by block, much of that so-called potential is gone. And Gort's height in 1951 of 8 feet was quite enough for him to be fearsome, and when he opened his eyelid, it fired his death ray. The threat when it began to open again on Patricia Neal and their delay in saving the magical words is one of the greatest moments in movie history. And why the makers of this remake thought so much bigger was any better is baffling. And this freezing of Gort's knees was preferable to Gort's jointlessness CGI, so he might as well have been inflatable and just looked like an inflatable dummy that you see at the car shops that goes, could be used for that. And as humans, we have to learn to understand our way of problems rather than use violence to change hearts and minds, and we eventually reach other planets and start other possible alien races, which see us as a terrible threat to peace. In the first place. Yeah, the film just has violence on both Klaatu's side and the human side, and this displays the message that violence is necessary when it's really not. And it doesn't help that Klaatu here just sounds and looks like a robot or a monster hidden inside a human body. Like, Michael Rennie's Klaatu was as human just like us, and that was the point, and made a mystery about who they were, because they might be us as humans. The director went the easy way, explained that Klaatu is some sort of beast inside a human body, and that we'd be scared of this beast. While Canada's a good actor in other things, but for this movie, the roles he's playing in is just dumped down. Klaatu's supposed to be a smart, peaceful, and friendly guy. No, not some soulless psychopath with stupid Professor X-like powers. Seriously, why the hell do they even need to give him special powers like bringing people from the dead? Why? The machine that brought Klaatu from the dead in the original movie is more logical and intelligent than this. Unintelligent, stupid crap we have to see here. And I even don't like the idea that they link the theory of evolution in the movie. Like, things like this are not well explained at all. The original movie wasn't linked to evolution or creationism. Before, I should also mention the ending of the movie. The ending is not even a good ending. It's a bad one disguised as a good one. So here it goes. So after our stupid little emotional scene at the grave, Klaatu says he'll try to stop the invasion, and they head towards the spear, and Dr. Benson notices something off the way. The entire town's been evacuated, and how they went after driving through a roadblock. They're now chased by the military vehicles, and they approach the spear. She yells for Michael to stop the car, and a targeted missile strike authorized by the president hits the spear, and it blasts the car to a tree, and it kills Michael. And then the nanobot cloud arrives, and Klaatu warns that even if he manages to stop Gort, there will be a price for the human way of life. There's not enough time to make it to the spear, so they run towards a footbridge to hide under. But inside, Jacob and Dr. Benson have bloody noses. Good. Should have just let one of them die. Good. But no, they don't. And it's revealed that they got infected by the nanites and are starting to die. She pleads with Klaatu to save Jacob. Fuck that! This kid treated her like shit! And you're not even his biological parent. Why the fuck should that matter? So Klaatu saves both of them, and transfers the infection to his own body, and sacrifices himself to stop Gort, and walking through the nanites to the spirit and touching it, and his actions cause the spirit to emit a massive EMP, and it destroys Gort, saves humanity, and at the price of Earth's technology becoming useless and immobile, and as the spear's leaving, Jacob realizes Klaatu didn't die, he just merged into a giant spear. The sphere surrounding an Earth leaves with a giant spear, and guess what? That's the end of the fucking movie. Way to fucking go. To tell your fucking story. And a sci-fi epic that had no action. Just running around the fucking forest being idiots and worried about some nanobites killing the Earth. And dealing with an annoying Jaden Smith for 2 hours. And guess what, guys? With that all happened, the invasion is also stopped. But, guess what? The power is destroyed. Yeah, this is a good ending, executives. Because don't worry, the bugs are all dead, but the power is gone. At least the bugs are gone. At least Earth is saved. But guess what now? Guess what you can't do with no power? Now you can't cook food. You can't go fly anywhere to visit your family or visit other places or go to conference meetings for your job. You can't type reports. You can't make phone calls. You can't save people that are going to die in a hospital of injuries or crimes. Speaking of crimes, you can't stop crimes because the police officers need sirens on their cars. You can't put out fires because they obviously need power trucks to put out fires with the firemen. And you can't watch TV. You can't watch the news. And you can't use workout machines or go to the gym. You can't make bill payments with credit cards. So guess what, guys? You on Earth are all fucked. But at least invasion's over. Yeah. This was a great... So, this is a good ending? The power's all gone? So Earth's just gonna fucking die anyway? No. This is a fuck you ending. It's a fuck you to the people who watched this, probably saw this. It's just a fuck you to the money you wasted. Is there one good quality with this remake? Well... The idea, I guess, of having nanobots invading is cool, but it's horribly executed in the end, and the only cast members to give good performance in their respective roles are Kathy Bates and Regina Jackson. Kathy Bates is Regina Jackson, and Kyle Chandler is John Driscoll. I can admit that. And I can think of some good things. On the bright side, despite this, Scott Derrickson... He's improved as a director with films like Doctor Strange, The Black Phone, and that segment he did in VHS 85 called Dreamkill. But this was back when he made shitty movies. Back then he made one of the shitty Hellraiser direct-to-DVD sequels. He made Exorcism of the Emily Rose, which was a boring as fuck horror movie, where there's nothing scary in it. And of course, he made Sinister, which I'm not a fan of after this, but this was back when he was a shitty director. But thankfully he's gotten better. At least. And Keanu Reeves and Connolly did redeem their careers years after this, doing this trash. Like, Keanu Reeves redeemed himself with John Wick. And Jennifer Connelly redeemed herself, it would take a long time, but she redeemed herself with Alita and Top Gun. Other than that, there's nothing else to like about this movie at all. So overall, in the end, this remake is a massive horseshit remake that belongs in a pile of horseshits. Or even though it's more of an avoid, but it's almost close to being horseshit. Go watch the original instead. Anyways, that's it for my epic rant of the Day the Earth Stood Still remake. If you're wondering how I'm going to rank the Day the Earth Stood Still remake, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you are willing to see a modern version of a 50s classic sci-fi film, do not think about it. Because all you will get is a garbage remake of a bratty Jaden Smith for 2 hours. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank the Day the Earth Stood Still remake, I am going to give the Day the Earth Stood Still remake a 3 out of 10. There we go. That wraps up my epic rant for Day the Earth Stood Still remake. So you're wondering, what's going to be the next reviews? Well, our next reviews are going to be for some new releases I have not reviewed yet, but meaning to review these. And then after that, I'm going to finally do another review series again. And that's, that review series is going to be the review series for this. Yeah. So, until then, guys, that'll be it for this epic rant. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.